Hey brother, sit down and listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you isn't easy to hear, but it will change everything about how you understand and interact with women forever. Most men walk into relationships wearing blindfolds made of hope, fantasy, and fairy tales. They see only what they want to see: softness, sweetness, innocence. They hear only what they want to hear: affection, praise, words dipped in honey. But here's the hard truth no one ever shared with you growing up. Women are not what you think they are. Not because they're evil or broken, but because you've been lied to about their true nature. Once you finally take those blindfolds off, confusion will fade, replaced by a clarity that changes everything. You need to understand this clearly. Fear isn't about shrinking away or cowering in weakness. Real fear is about respect, respect for power. Feminine power, especially when misunderstood, can dismantle a man's soul in ways he never saw coming. It's emotional, indirect, seductive, reactive, and endlessly adaptive. A woman doesn't conquer by brute force or loud dominance. Instead, she influences quietly, subtly, and strategically without ever raising her voice. At first, you won't even notice it happening, but before long, you'll find yourself sinking deeper and deeper into emotional quicksand, wondering why your priorities, your identity, your peace all start to slip away like sand through your fingers. This isn't a coincidence, it's by design, and if you don't learn to respect that design and understand the forces at play, you will be consumed and devoured by it without even realizing the battle you're losing. This feminine power is ancient and instinctual. While men have traditionally wielded strength and built empires, women have mastered the art of influence, the quiet currents beneath the surface, steering the tides. This isn't just history, it's nature itself. In today's world, the modern man plays with honesty and transparency, while she's often 2 steps ahead in the intricate game of emotional chess. She doesn't need to overpower you physically. She only needs you to believe the illusion long enough to reshape your mind and shift your world. That's why it's not her love you should fear, it's her attention. Because once she gives you that, your clarity begins to blur and everything you thought you knew starts to slip away. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. They were built to survive, brother. Their psychology, their instincts, their social strategies, all of it has evolved around survival and leverage. When men had strength, women held influence. When men built empires, women controlled the men behind those empires. This isn't just a story from history books, it's nature itself, etched into the fabric of existence. And today's man, he's still playing a game of honesty and openness, while she's already several moves ahead in a complex game of emotional chess. She doesn't need to overpower you with brute force. No, she only needs you to believe the illusion long enough to quietly rewire your brain and shift your perception. That's why it's not her love you should fear, it's her attention. Because once she gives you that attention, your clarity begins to slip away, like sand falling through your fingers. This is exactly why so many men end up confused. You think she's yours because she whispered sweet words. You think you're winning because she smiles at you, laughs at your jokes, or gently touches your arm. But none of these things are commitments. They're tools. Tools she uses, sometimes consciously, sometimes purely by instinct, to get what she wants. Affection becomes leverage. Vulnerability turns into a test. Tears become weapons. And you, the good man, the honest man, the one who just wants to love and be loved in return, you get destroyed. Because while you act with sincerity and openness, she's operating on instinct, an instinct shaped by millennia of survival. And no, this doesn't make her bad or cruel. It makes her human. It makes her female. The feminine is not linear, it's not logical, it's not consistent, it's responsive, it's chaotic, it's a mirror that reflects your strength right back at you. And if you show weakness, hesitation, or let your emotions take control, she feels it instantly, and she shifts accordingly. That's the part most men completely miss, and it's why so many end up confused and frustrated. She doesn't respond to the version of yourself you put on for her, the mask you wear, or the image you want her to see. She responds only to who you truly are beneath all the noise, all the pretending, all the attempts to please. The moment you stop leading, when you stop grounding yourself in your own values and strength, when you stop standing firm in your purpose and presence, she feels it immediately. Without you even realizing, she shifts her energy, pulls back emotionally, and changes her entire dynamic with you. And then you're left wondering what you did wrong. You think you failed somehow, but the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't understand the rules of the game. You didn't realize that women don't fall for love in the way you imagined. They fall for power. Not domination, not arrogance, but a calm, centered, unshakable power. The power of a man who leads himself first and foremost, who can walk away without fear or desperation, who sees through emotional games without flinching. That's the man she respects. That's the man she fears losing. But here's the crucial thing. If you put her on a pedestal, if you make her the center of your emotional world, you become disposable. Not because she's cruel or uncaring, but because you've lost your masculine polarity, the magnetic core that makes you irresistible. And in her world, losing that polarity is equivalent to death to attraction. So yes, fear women, but not with childish fear of the unknown or the dark. Fear them with the respect and vigilance of a warrior who knows the dangers of the battlefield. Fear them like a sailor who respects the unpredictable and often unforgiving sea. With awe, with respect, with alertness and preparedness. This isn't about blaming women or thinking they're out to get you. It's about seeing clearly and honestly. No more romantic illusions. No more fairy tale thinking. No more believing that simply being a nice guy will keep her close and loyal. That's a lie. What truly keeps her is your unshakable masculine energy. What attracts her deeply is your ability to remain sovereign, whole, grounded, and independent. The moment you collapse into neediness, insecurity, or desperation, she changes, and not into someone you want to be around. And you're simply not ready for that version of her. The one that surfaces when the initial glow fades, when the smiles grow thin and the warmth turns cold and distant. You've seen it before, haven't you? That woman who once adored you, who laughed at your jokes and hung on your every word, suddenly becomes withdrawn, calculating, emotionally distant. You're left wondering what went wrong, what changed, and why the connection you thought was unbreakable now feels like a fragile thread about to snap. I'll tell you what happened. You changed first. You lost your edge, you dropped your boundaries, you chased her too hard, gave too much too soon, and made her the center of your world. And it's not that she hated you for it. No, she simply couldn't respect it. Because deep inside, she's not wired to lead. She's wired to follow the strongest presence she can find. The man who is grounded, confident, and unshakable. And if that presence fades, if your strength wanes, so does her desire. This is not some petty drama or emotional game. This is design, evolutionary wiring at work. If you want to keep your soul intact, your dignity unshattered, and your heart free in this game, you need to stop expecting her to be something she's not. Stop expecting consistency from a creature born of emotion and instinct, someone who feels first and thinks later. Stop expecting cold, calculated logic from a woman whose nature is fluid, responsive, and deeply intuitive. Instead, build yourself up from the inside out. Create a core so strong that nothing can shake it, a purpose that drives you, a path you walk with confidence. Make her the cherry on top of your life's cake, not the whole damn cake itself. Let her orbit your world, adding sweetness and joy, but never becoming the axis on which your life spins. Most importantly, stop reacting emotionally to her moods, her silence, her tests. The more you react, whether it's anger, desperation, jealousy, or pleading, the more control she gains over you. And the more control she has, the less she desires you. Desire is born from respect, challenge, and strength, not from neediness or surrender. When you respond calmly, grounded in your own power and self-respect, you reclaim the balance. You shift the dynamic from her controlling your emotional state to you leading with sovereignty. That's when you become magnetic. That's when she can't help but be drawn to you, not because you chase, but because you embody the man she's wired to follow. It's a paradox, but it's the truth. People say women are confusing, but only if you expect them to operate like men. The moment you stop trying to make sense of them through a man's logic, everything suddenly becomes simple. You stop chasing closure after every silence. You stop over-analyzing every shift in her mood. Instead, you learn to observe, you adapt, you lead, you hold your frame steady no matter what. And that's when she truly comes alive. Not because you figured her out, but because you finally become the man she was always wired to crave. The man who stands firm, unshaken by the fear of losing her, because he is already whole on his own. You have to understand, most men today are trained to be emotionally dependent on a woman's reactions. You send a text, wait anxiously for her reply. She pulls back even slightly, and suddenly your whole day collapses. She gives you attention, and you feel like a king. But here's the catch. That's the problem. By doing that, you've handed her the emotional steering wheel, and the man who lets that happen is always one misstep away from crashing. When a woman can shift your entire mood just by pulling away, by simply withdrawing her attention or presence, that's when she holds the real power over you. It's not about manipulation or cruelty, it's about the undeniable influence she wields. That's why you must fear women, not with panic, fear born of weakness or desperation, but with the kind of deep respect a man reserves for fire. Fire is mesmerizing, captivating, full of warmth and light, but if you don't learn to control it, if you don't master how to hold it without getting burned, it will consume everything you've built and everything you are. Within every woman, there is a part that watches silently and carefully. She's always observing your every move, not out of judgment, but out of a deep instinctual need to calibrate. She's testing you, evaluating if you are a man of depth, integrity, and emotional strength, or if you're just another performer wearing a mask, playing a role to impress her. The test doesn't come announced. It doesn't come with fanfare. It's often subtle, a delayed reply to a message, a joke that unexpectedly cuts deep, a sudden withdrawal of warmth or affection when you need her most. How you respond in those moments is everything. It reveals the true measure of your character, your emotional resilience, and your sense of self. If you chase after her, begging for her return or reassurance, if you collapse under the weight of uncertainty or fear, if you lose your composure, she takes note. She files it away in the part of her mind that keeps score, because suddenly you are no longer the man she thought you were. You become just another man who talked big but failed to lead himself emotionally. You become a man whose words promised strength but whose actions revealed weakness. And here's the brutal truth. She'll never say this out loud. She won't warn you or explain what's happening. But that moment, when you lose your footing and react out of desperation, is quietly the beginning of the end. It's the point where her respect starts to fade, where her desire begins to cool, and where the distance between you both starts to grow. Fear isn't a sign of weakness, it's a beacon of awareness, a signal that keeps you grounded and alert in the face of something powerful and unpredictable. When you approach women without fear, recklessly stepping in with blind hope and fantasies, you expose yourself to emotional ruin, opening doors to confusion and heartbreak. But when you approach with a rooted, clear-eyed fear, a fear born from truth, experience, and respect, you gain clarity that cuts through the illusions. You no longer fall for love bombing or mistake fleeting attention for real affection, nor do you assume forever from moments that are meant only for now. This kind of grounded awareness transforms you from a puppet dancing on emotional strings into the one holding the strings. You don't have to hate women to understand their shadows. Just as every man has darkness within, so do they. And often they know their shadows intimately, how to wield innocence like a weapon and drip sweetness that hides venom beneath the surface. When you witness this, you face a choice. succumb to the spell, or see through the performance with unshaken clarity. When you can look at her, smile, and refuse to surrender your power, that's when fear loses its grip and you become untouchable. The most dangerous woman isn't the loud, obvious one. It's the quiet whisperer, the listener who mirrors your dreams while rewriting the script behind your back. She makes you believe she's your ally until you realize everything you valued, your goals, your time, your peace, has been quietly shifted under her influence. And the cruelest truth is, you handed her the keys willingly, with a smile, unaware you were giving away your sovereignty. That's why the most critical boundary you'll ever set isn't one you negotiate after she arrives. It's the unshakable self-respect you build inside yourself first. This isn't about becoming colder or more distant. It's about becoming clearer, more grounded, and fiercely independent emotionally. Stop relying on a woman for validation or emotional stability. Become your own foundation, your own purpose. When you do this, something shifts. She still tests you, still pushes your limits, but now you stand firm, unflinching, unmoved. And in that strength, you become something rare, something precious, the man she can't afford to lose, not because you chased her, but because you embodied the grounded, sovereign masculine energy she subconsciously craves. Masculine energy needs no explanation or defense. It doesn't argue or over-justify itself. It simply is. When you move through the world with this clarity, with unshakable purpose and grounded strength, she either aligns with your truth or walks away. Either way, you win, because you never twisted yourself out of shape to keep her, never begged her to stay, you simply held your ground. That unwavering presence is what makes you powerful, unforgettable, and what flips the entire game, because for the first time, she sees you're not like the rest. Fear women, not in terror, but with the fierce respect they command, because they hold the power to reach the deepest parts of your soul. Open those gates too quickly or too wide without discernment, and you risk being dismantled from within, losing not just love, but your very sense of self. She won't even realize she's doing it. She's not consciously setting out to undermine you or break you down. Instead, she's simply reacting instinctively to the energy you project, especially in moments when you falter or show signs of weakness. But make no mistake, brother, you will feel it. It won't happen overnight, but piece by piece, moment by moment, you'll sense your masculinity eroding beneath the weight of her expectations, her shifting moods, her emotional withdrawals. That slow creeping drain on your confidence and your center, it's subtle but deadly. And that's why you must guard your soul like the fortress it is. You cannot allow just anyone in. You must make her earn entrance, not with words but with actions, with consistency, with respect for the boundaries you set. Even when she proves herself worthy, never hand her everything. Keep a part of your peace, your core, sacred and untouchable. Because here's the truth, women are not what you've been led to believe. And that's not a failure or a flaw on their part, it's simply their nature. They were never meant to be your rational equals or your predictable partners in logic. Instead, they are the emotional current flowing alongside your strength, something to be channeled, understood, and respected, not drowned in or controlled. They exist to dance around your power, to challenge it, to complement it, not to become your entire purpose, your identity, or your emotional anchor. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you break free from confusion, from endless questions, and from the exhausting chase after certainty where there is none. When you reach that place of freedom, when you no longer need her to fill an emptiness inside you, but instead choose her from a place of wholeness and sovereignty, that's when everything changes. That shift from dependence to choice, from need to sovereignty, is the invisible force that makes you magnetic, that separates the men she forgets from the men she can't replace. Because make no mistake, women feel it. They know when a man stands firm in himself, when his foundation is unshakable and his center unmovable, and they respond not to what you say, but to the energy you carry, to the strength you embody without needing to prove it. So yes, fear women, but not with panic or submission. Fear them like a king fears war, with reverence, with strategy, and with unwavering preparation. Because if you fail to respect the battlefield you're stepping onto, you will walk in blind, heart first, and lose everything you've built. your peace, your identity, your power. But if you approach with respect and awareness, if you understand her nature and anticipate her moves, if you lead with clear, grounded strength, you will move through this game like a master, calm, confident, and clear. She will test you, push you, and pull at the edges of your resolve. But beneath it all, she will respect you. She will even love you for it, because what women want deep down is not to lead but to be led by a man who is immovable, who sees through illusions, and who cannot be shaken by chaos. Be that man, brother. Be the man who holds the line, who guards his soul, and who walks through the fire without fear. Not because he's without fear, but because he has mastered how to hold it. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.